The silent behemoth. In the cold depths of space, a sleek obsidian vessel glided through the endless void. The Terran Stardrifter, humanity's most advanced warship, was a marvel of engineering and a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Captain Alexis Raven stood on the bridge, her sharp green eyes scanning the holographic displays. Her crew, an elite cadre of scientists, soldiers, and diplomats, moved with practiced efficiency around her. They represented the pinnacle of human achievement, each chosen for their unparalleled skills and unwavering dedication. The Stardrifter's mission was one of exploration and diplomacy, to seek out new life and foster alliances among the stars. But in a galaxy ruled by the authoritarian Vanari Empire, such noble pursuits were often met with suspicion and hostility. As the ship ventured deeper into uncharted space, its advanced sensors suddenly came alive with warnings. "Captain, we've got multiple contacts on long-range scanners," reported Lieutenant Ezra Malik, the ship's tactical officer. "Configuration matches known Vanari warships." Alexis's brow furrowed. The Vanari, a crystalline species who ruled the galaxy with an iron grip, had long viewed humanity's rapid technological ascent with dismay and suspicion. It seemed their patience had finally run out. "Bring the ship to full alert status," Alexis ordered, her voice steady despite the tension crackling in the air. "Prepare to hail them, but ready weapon systems as a precaution." As the crew scrambled to their stations, Alexis couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would be unlike any they had faced before. The Stardrifter might be the pride of the Terran fleet, but even its might had yet to be truly tested against the full power of the Vanari. The fate of her ship, her crew, and perhaps even the future of humanity itself hung in the balance. In that moment, standing on the precipice of the unknown, Alexis felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. But she would not shrink from this challenge. None of them would. They were human, after all. They would face whatever threats loomed ahead with courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that their cause was just. As the alarm klaxons began to blare, and the crew girded themselves for battle, the Stardrifter sliced through the starry void toward the approaching Vanari fleet, ready to face whatever destiny awaited them in the cold dark of space. Confrontation on the frontier. The Vanari ships encircled the Terran Stardrifter like a pack of wolves surrounding a defiant prey. The sleek Vanari vessels, their hulls shimmering with iridescent patterns, dwarfed the human ship in both size and number. On the Stardrifter's bridge, Captain Alexis Raven stood tall, her gaze locked on the viewscreen displaying the alien fleet. She refused to be cowed by this show of force. A hail from the Lid Vanari ship pierced the tense silence. The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing the angular, crystalline visage of a Vanari commander. "Human vessel, this is Overseer Zane of the Vanari Imperial Fleet. You have violated our sovereign territory. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Alexis stepped forward, her voice ringing with defiance. "Overseer Zane, this is Captain Alexis Raven of the Terran Stardrifter. We are on a mission of peace and have violated no laws. We do not recognize your claim to this sector, and will defend ourselves if necessary." The Vanari's faceted features contorted in a sneer. "You dare defy us, human. Your species is little more than upstart primitives playing at being the galactic power. I will not ask again. Surrender or be destroyed." Alexis's green eyes flashed with determination. "We will never surrender our freedom, Overseer. The Terran Alliance stands firm against tyranny in all its forms." As the communication cut off, the bridge crew looked to their captain, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and resolve. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but they also knew that backing down was not an option. Alexis turned to her officers, her voice steady and commanding. "Raise shields and charge weapon systems. Helm, plot evasive maneuvers. We'll show these bastards what humanity is made of." As the crew sprang into action, the Stardrifter's advanced systems hummed to life. Its experimental phase shields shimmered into existence, encasing the ship in a protective bubble of shimmering energy. Its array of particle beams and quantum torpedoes stood ready to unleash devastation on any who dared to strike first. On the view screen, the Venari ships began to move, their formations shifting to attack positions. The standoff had reached a critical juncture, a single spark away from erupting into all-out warfare. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the crew of the Stardrifter held fast, drawing strength from their shared purpose and unbreakable human spirit. They were the vanguard of humanity, and they would not go quietly into the night. As the first volleys of enemy fire streaked toward the Terran ship, Alexis gripped the arms of her command chair, her eyes narrowed with fierce determination. Hold fast, everyone. This is where we show the galaxy what we're made of. For Earth and the Alliance. The crew's answering battle cry rang through the ship as the Stardrifter plunged into the maelstrom of battle, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance as the stars themselves seemed to tremble with anticipation. The Wrath of Terra. The Venari ships unleashed a storm of energy weapons upon the Terran Stardrifter, the void of space alight with searing beams and fiery explosions. But the human ship stood its ground, its experimental shields absorbing the brunt of the onslaught, even as the hull shuddered under the titanic forces at play. On the bridge, Captain Alexis Raven gritted her teeth as another impact rocked the ship. "Shield status," she barked. "Shield holding at 70%, Captain," replied Lieutenant Ava Patel, the ship's engineer. "But they won't last forever under this kind of punishment." Alexis nodded grimly. The Stardrifter was a marvel of human ingenuity, but even it had its limits. They needed to seize the initiative and fast. "Tactical, target their lead ship's weapons array," Alexis ordered. "Hit them with everything we've got." "Aye, Captain," answered Lieutenant Ezra Malik. His fingers danced over the console, directing the Stardrifter's cutting-edge weaponry with pinpoint precision. A salvo of quantum torpedoes erupted from the Terran ship, streaking through the void toward the Venari flagship. The alien ship's shields flared as they tried to repel the attack, but the sheer power of the human weapons overwhelmed them. Explosions blossomed along the Venari ship's hull as its main battery went dark, crippled by the precision strike. A cheer went up from the Stardrifter's crew as they watched their enemy falter. But Alexis knew this was only the beginning. The Venari were too proud, too convinced of their own superiority to let this affront pass unanswered. Indeed, the remaining Venari ships redoubled their assault, pouring fire into the Terran vessel with vengeful fury. The Stardrifter's shields flared and buckled under the onslaught, alarms blaring as the ship's systems strained to keep them intact. In that moment, faced with the full wrath of a galactic empire, a lesser crew might have crumbled. But the men and women of the Stardrifter were made of sterner stuff. They were humans, the inheritors of a legacy of defiance in the face of impossible odds. Alexis rose from her chair, her eyes blazing with an inner fire. "Ava, divert all power to weapons and engines. Ezra, prepare a full spread of torpedoes. We're going to punch a hole through their line and make a run for it." Her officers nodded, their faces set with grim determination. They knew the risks, but they also knew that sometimes the only path to victory was through the heart of the storm. As the Stardrifter surged forward, its engines burning bright with the full force of its reactor, Alexis addressed her crew. "This is our moment. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to show these Venari what humanity is capable of. For Earth and the Alliance." The answering roar of the crew filled the bridge as the Stardrifter plunged into the teeth of the Venari onslaught, its weapons blazing as it prepared to strike a blow for humanity's freedom that would echo throughout the stars. Breach in the blockade. The Terran Stardrifter hurtled through the void, its engines burning at full power as it wove through a tempest of enemy fire. On the bridge, Captain Alexis Raven gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles white with tension as she watched the view screen. The Venari ships pursued relentlessly, their weapons carving swaths of destruction through space as they tried to bracket the nimble human vessel. But the Stardrifter was a ghost, always slipping away at the last moment thanks to the peerless skill of its pilot, Lieutenant Kai Okada. "Captain, we're approaching the edge of their defensive perimeter," Kai reported, his hands flying over the helm controls. "If we're going to make our move, it has to be now." Alexis nodded, her green eyes calculating. "Ezra, are the torpedoes ready?" The tactical officer grinned fiercely. "Locked and loaded, Captain. Just say the word." Alexis took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. This was their chance, a daring gambit that could turn the tide of battle and prove to the galaxy that humanity would not be cowed. Fire at will. A volley of quantum torpedoes burst from the Stardrifter's launch tubes, each one a condensed packet of pure destructive force. They raced toward the Vanari line, their trajectories calculated to the nanosecond by the ship's advanced targeting systems. The Vanari point defenses lashed out, trying to swat the incoming ordnance from the sky. But they were too slow, too scattered. The torpedoes slipped through the gaps in their coverage, burrowing deep into the hulls of the alien ships before detonating with cataclysmic force. Space itself seemed to convulse as the Vanari line shattered, their once proud ships reduced to shattered husks and drifting debris. In the heart of the maelstrom, the Stardrifter pushed forward, riding the shockwaves of its own destruction as it broke free of the Vanari cordon. On the bridge, the crew erupted in cheers as they watched their enemies fall away behind them. They had done the impossible, striking a blow against the galaxy's mightiest empire that would be remembered for generations to come. But even as they celebrated, Alexis knew this was only the beginning. The Vanari would not take this humiliation lightly. They would hunt the Stardrifter to the ends of the galaxy, driven by wounded pride and an implacable thirst for vengeance. As the ship raced toward the safety of friendly space, Alexis allowed herself a moment to reflect on the magnitude of their achievement. Against all odds, a single human ship had stood against the might of the Vanari and emerged triumphant. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of her crew, to the courage and ingenuity that had carried humanity to the stars. But it was also a warning, a sign that the Vanari's grip on the galaxy was not as unassailable as they believed. For now, the Stardrifter would lick its wounds and regroup. But soon, very soon, they would return to the fight. For they were the vanguard of a new age, the heralds of a future where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, not as servants, but as equals. And heaven help any who stood in their way. The Empyrean Gambit. The Terran Stardrifter limped into the cavernous hangar bay of the hidden resistance base, its hull scorched and pitted from the ferocious battle it had just escaped. As the ship settled onto its landing gear, a crowd of rebels and freedom fighters gathered around, their faces alight with awe and admiration. Captain Alexis Raven and her crew emerged to a hero's welcome, the assembled rebels cheering and chanting their names. They had done the impossible, striking a blow against the Vanari that had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Among the crowd, a tall figure pushed forward, his grizzled face split by a broad grin. "Captain Raven, that was some damn fine flying," said Admiral Eric Voss, leader of the Free Worlds Alliance. "You've given us the spark we needed to ignite our revolution." Alexis clasped the Admiral's hand, feeling the surge of pride and purpose. "We did what needed to be done, Admiral, but the fight is far from over." Admiral Voss nodded, his eyes hardening with resolve. "Indeed it isn't, but thanks to your actions, we finally have a chance to turn the tide. Come, there's much to discuss." As Alexis and her crew followed the Admiral into the heart of the base, they marveled at the scale of the operation. Ships of every size and configuration filled the hangar, while soldiers and technicians hurried about their tasks with focused intensity. In the command center, a holographic map of the galaxy sprang to life, displaying the known positions of Vanari forces. Admiral Voss gestured to a cluster of systems near the galactic core. "This is our target, the Vanari's central command hub, and the key to their control over the galaxy." Alexis studied the map, her brows knitted in thought. "It's heavily defended. We'd need a fleet to even get close. The Admiral grinned wolfishly. "That's where you come in, Captain. The Stardrifter has proven itself capable of taking on the Vanari head-on. With your ship leading the charge, we can punch through their defenses and open the way for our main force." Alexis felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with trepidation. It was a daring plan, audacious in its scope, and fraught with risk. But if it succeeded, it could change the course of galactic history. She looked around at her crew, seeing the determination and resolve etched on their faces. They had come this far, faced down the mightiest empire in the known universe. They would not falter now, not with the fate of billions hanging in the balance. "We're in, Admiral," Alexis said, her voice ringing with conviction. "The Stardrifter and her crew are at your disposal." Admiral Voss clasped her shoulder, his eyes shining with gratitude and respect. "Your courage and sacrifice will be remembered for generations, Captain. Together, we will forge a new future for the galaxy, one where all species are free to chart their own destiny." As the rebel command staff sprang into action, laying out the details of the ambitious operation, Alexis felt a sense of profound purpose settle over her. This was their moment, their chance to make a stand against tyranny and oppression. The road ahead would be perilous, fraught with danger and uncertainty. But they were human, the inheritors of a legacy of defiance and determination. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead with unwavering resolve and an unbreakable spirit. For they were the spark of hope in a galaxy shrouded in darkness, and they would not rest until the light of freedom shone upon every world. Storming the Citadel. The void of space erupted with the fury of 1,000 suns as the Free World's Alliance fleet clashed with the massed might of the Vanari Empire. At the vanguard of the rebel onslaught, the Terran Stardrifter wove through the chaos, its weapons blazing as it carved a path through the enemy lines. On the bridge, Captain Alexis Raven orchestrated the mayhem with steely focus, her crew moving as one to execute her commands. They were the tip of the spear, the battering ram that would shatter the Vanari's defenses and open the way for the rebel assault on the Imperial Command Hub. "Incoming fire, port side," Lieutenant Ezra Malik yelled, his fingers dancing across the tactical console. "Evasive maneuvers," Alexis ordered, bracing herself as the ship lurched and twisted. "Ava, redirect power to shields. Kai, bring us about for another pass." The Stardrifter spun on its axis, narrowly avoiding a salvo of plasma torpedoes as it swung around to face the enemy formation. Its advanced weaponry lashed out, quantum beams and graviton pulses ripping through the hulls of the Vanari ships like they were made of paper. Were far from defeated. Even as their ships burned and broke apart under the human onslaught, they fought back with the fury of a wounded beast. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, seeking to overwhelm the Stardrifter's defenses through sheer volume of fire. On the view screen, the Vanari Command Citadel loomed large, a vast, fortified structure bristling with weapons emplacements. It was the heart of their empire, the nexus from which they exerted their iron grip on the galaxy. And it was their destination. "All units, this is Admiral Voss," came the rebel leader's voice over the comm. "Commence the attack on the command hub. We will end the Vanari's reign of tyranny here and now." As one, the rebel fleet surged forward, their ships forming a wall of steel and fire as they charged the Citadel's defenses. The Vanari responded in kind, the space around the massive structure erupting into a maelstrom of destruction. But the rebels would not be denied. Led by the indomitable Stardrifter, they punched through the enemy fire, their own weapons laying waste to the Vanari battlements. Explosions blossomed across the Citadel's surface as its defenses crumbled under the relentless assault. "We're through." Alexis exulted as the Stardrifter burst into the Citadel's inner sanctum. "All teams, prepare for boarding action. We're taking this fight to their doorstep." As the human ship docked with the beleaguered station, Alexis and her crew stormed out, pulse rifles at the ready. They were met by a hail of fire from the Vanari defenders, the crystalline warriors determined to fight to the last. But the humans were fueled by a righteous fury. a burning desire to see justice done and freedom restored to the galaxy. They met the Vanari head-on, their weapons flashing as they pushed deeper into the heart of the enemy stronghold. Alexis led from the front, her rifle blazing as she carved a path through the Vanari ranks. Beside her, her crew fought with equal parts skill and savagery, the bond of shared purpose and sacrifice driving them to heights of courage they had never known. Through smoke and fire, blood and terror, the humans pressed on, an unstoppable force driven by an unbreakable will. And at last, they stood victorious, the Vanari leadership lying broken at their feet and the command citadel firmly under rebel control. As the last echoes of battle faded away, Alexis looked around at her battered but triumphant crew. In their eyes, she saw the same fire that burned in her own heart, the unquenchable flame of human spirit. They had done the impossible, striking a blow against the galaxy's mightiest empire that would resound through the ages. But more than that, they had shown the universe the true mettle of their species, the indomitable will and courage that had carried humanity to the stars. And as the rebel fleet gathered around the shattered remnants of Vanari power, as the first cries of freedom and jubilation began to echo across the liberated worlds, Alexis knew that this was only the beginning. For they were human, the torchbearers of liberty in a galaxy too long shrouded in darkness. And they would not rest until every sentient being knew the blessings of self-determination and the unfettered pursuit of their dreams. A new galactic dawn. In the aftermath of their momentous victory, the Free Worlds Alliance moved swiftly to consolidate their gains. With the Vanari command hub shattered and their leadership in disarray, the once mighty empire began to crumble, its subject races rising up in open revolt against their weakened masters. Across the galaxy, the fires of rebellion spread like wildfire, the dream of freedom igniting the hearts of billions. And at the forefront of this great uprising stood the heroes of the Terran Stardrifter, the indomitable crew who had struck the first blow against the Vanari and shown the universe the true strength of the human spirit. For Captain Alexis Raven and her valiant companions, there was little time to rest on their laurels. The Alliance needed them, needed their skills and their courage to help guide the newly liberated worlds through the challenges of forging a new galactic order. They journeyed from system to system, the Stardrifter a shining beacon of hope and unity amidst the chaos of change. They brokered treaties, mediated disputes, and lent their strength to the fledgling democracies that sprang up in the wake of the Vanari's fall. It was not an easy path. The scars of centuries of oppression ran deep, and old hatreds and rivalries threatened to tear the fragile peace asunder. But through it all, Alexis and her crew held fast to their ideals, to the belief that all sentient beings deserved to chart their own destiny free from the yoke of tyranny. And slowly, painfully, a new order began to take shape, an alliance of free worlds, bound together not by force or fear, but by the shared values of liberty, justice, and the rule of law. A beacon of hope in a galaxy that had known too much darkness. As the Stardrifter set course for Earth, the jewel of the human alliance and the symbol of all they had fought for, Alexis couldn't help but reflect on the long and arduous journey that had brought them to this point. She thought of the sacrifices that had been made, the lives given in the name of freedom. She thought of the bonds of camaraderie and shared purpose that had sustained them through the darkest of times, the unbreakable ties that had forged them into something more than a crew, more than friends. They were family, bound by blood and fire, by the triumphs and tragedies that had shaped them into the heroes they had become. And as the blue-green orb of Earth filled the view screen, as the Stardrifter passed through the shimmering veil of the homeworld's defenses, Alexis felt a sense of profound gratitude and humility wash over her. For they had been given a great gift, a chance to make a difference in the grand tapestry of history. And though the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, she knew that they would face them as they always had, with courage, determination, and an unshakable faith in the human spirit. As the Stardrifter touched down amidst the soaring spires of the Alliance capital, As the cheers of countless multitudes washed over them like a tidal wave of jubilation, Alexis and her crew stepped out into the light of a new dawn. A dawn of hope, of promise, of a galaxy reborn in the image of freedom and unity. And as they looked to the stars, to the infinite expanse of possibility that stretched out before them, they knew that this was only the beginning. For they were human, the children of Earth and the inheritors of the stars. And their destiny was to light the way forward, to forge a future bright with the promise of all that sentient life could achieve when freed from the chains of oppression. And in that moment, as the light of a new age dawned upon the galaxy, anything seemed possible. For they had dared to dream, to reach for the stars, and in so doing, they had changed the course of history forever. The end.